Hey there, folks. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into the murky waters of Canada's debt crisis. Don't worry, we'll try to keep it light. Just kidding, this stuff is terrifying. Canada, known for its maple syrup, hockey and polite citizens, is teetering on the edge of a financial abyss. Now you might be thinking, Canada? Debt crisis? Those things don't go together. Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because things are about to get real. Canada's consumer debt has ballooned to a staggering $2.5 trillion. That's trillion with a T. To put that in perspective, it's like every Canadian owes the Tooth Fairy enough money to buy a small island. This debt binge isn't limited to just mortgages. Credit card debt has also reached an all-time high of $122 billion. That's enough to buy every Canadian a lifetime supply of poutine, and trust me, that's a lot of gravy-soaked fries. But here's the kicker. This debt bubble is eerily reminiscent of the conditions that led to the 2008 global financial crisis. Remember that little economic hiccup? Yeah, the one that nearly brought the world to its knees. Let's talk numbers, shall we? Because frankly, the statistics are pretty grim. The average Canadian household is now carrying a record $1.84 in debt for every dollar of disposable income. That's like trying to outrun a bear while carrying a baby elephant on your back. It's not going to end well. Remember the 2008 financial crisis? Yeah, the one that made subprime mortgages a household term. Well, Canada's current debt-to-income ratio is even higher than it was in the US before the housing bubble burst. It's like watching someone try to recreate the Titanic disaster, but with a bigger ship and even more hubris. So, what's fueling this debt-fueled frenzy? Well, a big part of it is the overheated Canadian housing market. The Canadian housing market, where dreams are made of, well, mostly debt. For years, Canadians have enjoyed relatively affordable housing, but those days, my friends, are long gone. The average home price in Canada has skyrocketed in recent years, fueled by low interest rates, foreign investment, and a healthy dose of good old-fashioned speculation. In some cities, like Toronto and Vancouver, the average home price is now well over $1 million. That's more expensive than a pet unicorn that poops gold. This insane price growth has created a situation where many Canadians are priced out of the market, forced to choose between living in their parents' basement or taking on crippling levels of debt to buy a place of their own. And as interest rates start to rise, the cracks in this house of cards are beginning to show. Here's where things get really hairy. Remember all that debt Canadians have racked up? Well, a big chunk of it is in the form of mortgages. And guess what happens when interest rates go up? That's right, mortgage payments go up too. Millions of Canadians are now facing the dreaded mortgage renewal crunch. This means they'll soon have to renew their mortgages at significantly higher interest rates, adding hundreds or even thousands of dollars to their monthly payments. Ouch! For many families already struggling to make ends meet, this could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And when people can't pay their mortgages, well, you know what happens next: foreclosures, bankruptcies, and a whole lot of economic pain. Section 5. Rising unemployment fueling the fire. As if things weren't bad enough, Canada is also grappling with a rising unemployment rate. The jobless rate has ticked up to 6.4% from 5.5% last year. That might not seem like a huge jump, but it represents hundreds of thousands of Canadians who are now out of work and struggling to make ends meet. And when people lose their jobs, they're more likely to default on their debts, which can further exacerbate the debt crisis. It's a vicious cycle, and one that's all too familiar to anyone who lived through the 2008 financial crisis. Section 6. A global pandemic, economic instability runs rampant. Now, before you start thinking that Canada is just a uniquely messed up case, let me assure you this is a global problem. From the United States to Europe to Asia, countries around the world are grappling with similar economic challenges. We're talking about soaring debt levels, inflated housing markets, and stagnant wages. It's like the entire world decided to play a game of financial Jenga, and we're all just waiting to see who pulls out the wrong block first. So, what's driving this global economic malaise? Well, a big part of it is the unprecedented levels of government spending and money printing that we've seen in recent years. Section 7, the inflation squeeze eroding purchasing power. Remember when a dollar could actually buy you something? Pepperidge Farm remembers. But thanks to inflation, our hard-earned dollars are losing value faster than a politician's promise. The cost of everything from groceries to gas to housing has skyrocketed in recent years, putting a serious strain on household budgets. This inflation is fueled in part by the trillions of dollars that governments around the world have pumped into their economies in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And while these measures may have been necessary to avert a complete economic meltdown, they've also come at a cost, namely higher prices for everything. Section 8. Navigating the financial storm, tips for weathering the crisis. So, what can you do to protect yourself from this economic hurricane? Well, the first step is to get your financial house in order. That means creating a budget, tracking your spending, and identifying areas where you can cut back. Next, it's essential to tackle any high-interest debt you may have, such as credit card debt. Consider consolidating your debt or negotiating with your creditors for a lower interest rate. And if you're thinking about making any major purchases like a new car or a house, now might not be the best time. With interest rates rising, it's more important than ever to live within your means and avoid taking on unnecessary debt. The bottom line is this: the economic outlook may seem bleak, but it's not all doom and gloom. By taking proactive steps to manage your finances, you can weather the storm and come out stronger on the other side. Remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about the economic challenges we face, the better equipped you'll be to navigate them successfully.